Welcome to the final part of our Historical Environment series on the Globe Theatre. In this video, we will explore the political, social and cultural context that shaped the Globe and how this understanding helps you tackle the AQA 16-mark exam question. So in video 1, we explained how the theatre emerged. Video 2 explained the theatre itself. And in this video, we will explain why the Globe mattered to people, to politics and to the image of Elizabethan England. AQA wants students to understand the site, which is the Globe, the wider environment, so Elizabethan England, and the relationship between the two. The Globe is not just a wooden theatre. It's a window into power, censorship, religion, social hierarchy, entertainment, national identity, and politics. And this context drives most of the possible 16-mark questions. So Elizabeth's reign is often described as a golden age of culture. Why? Because it saw advancements in literature, exploration, music, architecture, and especially theatre. And the Globe symbolised this cultural flowering. Elizabeth encouraged pageantry and performance as a way to display the nation's creativity, the monarchy's prestige, and England's stability under her rule. The Globe reinforced the image of an educated, confident Renaissance England. Elizabethan theatre shaped how people saw England. Shakespeare's histories, often performed at the Globe, helped create national myths, national heroes, and patriotic pride. Plays like Henry V and Richard II encouraged audiences to think about England's past and therefore about Elizabeth's place in its future. This made theatre politically powerful. So patronage. Patronage was a system where a noble supported a group of actors, gave them protection, provided status, and allowed them to perform legally. Without patronage, actors were legally rogues and vagabonds. And this is why patronage appears repeatedly in the AQA resource pack. The Globe's company, the Lord Chamberlain's men, had powerful patrons. Henry Carey, Lord Hunsdon, Elizabeth's cousin. Later, Lord Howard, the Lord Chamberlain after Hunsdon's death. After Elizabeth's death, they became the King's men under James I. So these connections protected the company from censorship, gave it status, attracted wealthy audiences, and linked the theatre to the court. And this is why the 2026 Historical Environment Pack emphasises patrons so clearly. Patrons didn't support acting companies out of generosity. They did it for prestige. They displayed their wealth and taste. They did it for influence. Actors touring their lands spread their name. They did it for favour. Patronage impressed the Queen. And political messaging. Plays reinforced the patrons' loyalties, and this made patronage a political investment. A nobleman's relationship with an acting company helped shape public opinion. If a company travelled performing under his name, these are the Lord Chamberlain's men, it suggested the patron was cultured, powerful, supportive of the arts, and close to the monarchy. So the Globe was not just entertainment, it was a stage for political identity. So, censorship and control then. The Master of the Revels. The Master of the Revels was the government official responsible for reading all plays, listening to scripts, cutting dangerous content, approving performances, and censoring lines and scenes. The Revels office protected the court from political criticism. This role is key to understanding the theatre's limits. So what did the Revels office do? Well, the Master of the Revels removed offensive references to the Queen, banned religious controversy, monitored political themes, oversaw performances at court, fined companies that broke rules, and controlled costumes and staging. Without his approval, a play could not be performed publicly. So the Isle of Dogs in 1597 is one of the most dramatic cases of censorship. Ben Jonson and Thomas Naish wrote The Isle of Dogs, a play with political jokes, and the government's reaction was severe. The play was banned, the actors were jailed, and theatre companies in London were temporarily closed. So this showed how dangerous the authorities believed theatre could be. it reinforced why strict censorship was needed. What about the Queen then? What did she think about the theatre? Well, Elizabeth loved the theatre, but she preferred comedies. She enjoyed performances at court. She never actually attended public theatres like the Globe. She insisted plays support the Tudor image, and she expected historical plays to flatter her family. And this balance, encouragement and control, shaped what playwrights could write. So there's a difference between court and public performances. At court, performances were much safer, they were politically filtered, they were richly staged, they'd often be followed by banquets, and often used for entertainment and diplomacy. At the Globe Theatre, performances were incredibly rowdy, political messages weren't always predictable, and crowds were much harder to control. And this difference explains why the state monitored public theatres closely. So what about politics in the Globe then? How theatre was used as a political influence? Well, theatre could influence thousands of people at once, more than sermons or proclamations. Crowds could discuss plots, interpret scenes politically, and see parallels between past kings and current events. And this worried authorities. So plays about rebellion, kingship, or tyranny were monitored carefully. The most famous political controversy involving the Globe was Richard II and the Essex Rebellion in 1601. So in 1601, supporters of the Earl of Essex, who planned a rebellion, paid the Lord Chamberlain's men to perform Shakespeare's Richard II on the eve of their uprising. Now, why would they do that? Because the play includes a weak king, a usurpation, a monarch losing power. It mirrored Essex's political ambitions. Although the rebellion failed, this event proved theatres could sway opinion and show plays could be used in political schemes, and it confirmed the government's fears. This was an excellent example of consequence for exam answers. Histories in the Tudor image then. Well, Shakespeare's history plays, often performed at the Globe, shaped public views of the Tudor monarchy. For example, Richard III was portrayed as a villain. Henry VII, Elizabeth's grandfather, appeared noble and heroic. English victories were celebrated, and disorder and rebellion were condemned. And this helped reinforce the Tudors' claim to power. Another important political event was the bishops' ban in 1599. So in 1599, bishops attempted to restrict the printing of satirical works, controversial material, historical writings, and this added pressure on playwrights to avoid dangerous topics, especially in history plays. And the Globe operated under this climate of anxiety and restriction. So why theatres were seen as dangerous then? Well, authorities feared theatres because they attracted large crowds, crowds could riot, plague could spread, political rebellion could be encouraged, criminals gathered there, satirical plays could mock officials, public opinion could shift quickly, and this tension shaped the Globe's entire history. So there was opposition to the theatre, the Puritan opposition. Puritans despised the theatre. They believed it encouraged sin, distracted people from religion, spread the plague, wasted time and money. They said it promoted deceit. This is because the actors were pretending and attracted criminals. And their pressure influenced city authorities and threatened the theatre industry. The City of London banned theatres inside its walls, and this forced companies to build in Bankside, Shoreditch, and other areas. And these areas are known as liberties, and they were outside the city's control. And it gave theatres more freedom and made Bankside a vibrant entertainment hub. Opponents complained that theatres spread disease, caused disorder, distracted apprentices from work, encouraged gambling and drinking, and mixed social classes improperly. And these attitudes shaped how theatres were regulated. And despite opposition, though, the theatre was incredibly popular. Why? Well, it was cheap, it was exciting, it was a social event, it reflected real life, there was dramatic emotional storytelling and spectacular staging. And people from all walks of life came to the Globe, often several times a week. But the Globe wasn't only a place for plays, it was a gathering place, a news-sharing hub, a meeting point, a space for celebration, and an escape from daily life. This social vibrancy made the Globe a central part of London culture. So, exam focus then. How AQA builds the 16-mark question. AQA uses a consistent formula. The question always has a statement about the theme, a second-order concept, and a prompt. The prompt will be, how far does your study of the globe support this? The exam will never ask for a description of the globe, a timeline, or factual recall without judgment. It demands evaluation. So there are three concepts. The second order concept will be one of the following. It will be cause, so reasons for the development, growth and popularity, change, how the theatre evolved, or consequence, the impact of the theatre or globe. Continuity is rarely used because it fits the topic poorly. So for 2026, cause or change are most likely. So the triangle technique then. To achieve a level 4, students should use the triangle approach. So you will be given a named factor and you need to explain this named factor fully with site-specific detail. And then another important factor and add evidence and explanation. And a third factor, it is optional, but I recommend you do it. It's insurance for consistency. And then you must have a judgment and you must argue which is the most important and why. Now this framework matches level 4 descriptors perfectly. So using the globe knowledge as evidence, you must support arguments with theatre structure, location, patronage, audiences, censorship, the Essex event, master of the Revels controls, acting companies, experience of performances, the bankside setting, rebuilding from the theatre. So without site-specific evidence, answers will stay at a level 2 or 3. So a strong answer looks like this. Paragraph 1, the named reason in the question. A full explanation, 2 site-specific pieces of evidence to back up, and a link to the question. Paragraph 2, another reason, full explanation, site detail, and a link back to the theme. An optional, but advised, additional angle, this helps secure consistency. So another factor, another reason, some specific pieces of evidence, and a link to the question. Now to get a level 4, you must give a judgment. So a clear judgment and decide how far the named factor is the main reason. And this is exactly what AQA rewarded in past level 4 responses. What gets a level 4 then? You must talk about the named factor, so always do it first. You must explain it clearly. You must include accurate, precise site details. Bring in at least one other factor. Evaluate their relative importance. Arrive at a justified judgment. And stay focused on the question throughout. The globe topic is perfect for this because the site is rich in evidence. So a final summary then. The globe was not simply a theatre. It's a political stage, a cultural symbol, a product of patronage and censorship, a reflection of society, a battleground between authorities and the public, a centre of entertainment and part of Elizabeth's Golden Age image. Understanding these themes prepares you for any 16-mark question. So thank you for watching all 3 videos. You now have the historical context, the site-specific knowledge, the political and social understanding, and the exam technique to succeed in your AQA Historic Environment question on the globe. So, if you pop on to humsmums.com/shop, there is a model answer and some resources on the globe for you to download if you wish. I hope this helps, and if you've got any questions, you can drop us an email or write in the comments on any of the videos and we'll do our best to help. Thanks so much. Bye bye.